All right, ladies, welcome to the call. We're here to talk about the bedtime belly buster.
Yes.
So my name is Jen Hyde. I'm a lifestyle and transformation coach. If you were invited here by my coaching, welcome. Also co-hosting with me is Camy, who is a diet and lifestyle expert. So Camy, why don't you introduce yourself and then I'll go ahead and start.
Sure. So I have been using Isogenics for 3.5 years, and the products were introduced into my life as a way for me to overcome binge eating and for a way for me to make income. So I introduced the products to Jen 2 years ago. She was just struggling with some health issues. And so that's how her and I connected. We connected online first, and we didn't meet each other in person until last year, which was awesome. But we knew we were supposed to be working together. So we want to bring all of this wealth of knowledge to you guys and just let you guys know our experience, and then our experience that we've had with our clients and with our friends and our family and everything having to do with the products and the opportunity.
Awesome. Yes, my experience with the Isogenics system and why I was introduced, like Camy said, she introduced it to me when I was going through a health journey. I was struggling with some health issues, and I was looking for a clear way to feed my body and heal my body. So that's why I got introduced to it, and I reached out to Camy for that. And then, so there's so many different approaches that you can do with these products. There's so many different avenues that you can take depending on what your lifestyle goals are. But tonight we're going to talk specifically about the bedtime belly buster and how you can incorporate that into your already lifestyle without it feeling like a diet, right? So this is, we'll always reiterate, we are not about diets. We're not about restriction. We're not about taking anything or deprivation away from the body. Like I said, the reason why I came to Isogenics was to feed my body and to heal my body. So there's no deprivation that is happening. And with the bedtime belly buster, it actually does the exact opposite, right? So at night, when you enter into a fasting state, which is when you go into a sleep pattern, your body ends up going into a fasting state. And when the ideal approach to that is when what you want is your metabolism to increase, your HGH to increase, and that heals the body naturally. That actually gets rid of all the toxins naturally. That sheds the body of toxic fat naturally. And by supplementing your body with a strong foundation of nutrition prior to this process happening, only enhances these effects. And what dieting does, it does the exact opposite. So when you restrict the body from calories or nutrition or any of that, it actually drops the metabolism. You actually get out of that sleep pattern, that natural sleep pattern that's supposed to take place. And then you get into this fight or flight. The body gets into this fight or flight pattern where it shuts down. Okay. So the HGH, there's no HGH. The human growth hormone is just flat. Your liver ends up getting backed up and a little bit more sluggish. Your sleep patterns get interrupted. And then that is the recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for weight gain. So when you wake up, you feel less rested. You don't have any energy. You feel sluggish. You feel bloated. So that's essentially where the bedtime belly buster came from. When you push this nutrition, when you feed your body this nutrition, you're actually allowing it to do what it's supposed to be doing. And you really can't create a better approach than the approach that your body already creates for you, right? So, you can see in science today that they can recreate pretty much every organ but the liver. Okay. And the liver is one of these miraculous things that it can filter everything that you put into your mouth. It can filter everything that's absorbed into the skin. It can filter absolutely everything. And it does not have any bias. What the problem is we bombard our bodies with all this toxic waste or all this toxic environmental pollutants, all the toxic food that we put into our body. Hold on, let me just mute Shannon. And our liver gets overloaded. It gets sluggish. So at night, we're not only restricting our calories on a diet, we're interrupting our sleep patterns. And now we're asking our liver to perform at its highest rate of function. And it can't do it. So it's just a lot of negative effects put on the body. And we wonder why, right? We have all those questions on why we're gaining unnecessary fat, why we feel sluggish and sleep deprived, and we think we're getting 8 hours of sleep, and we don't feel good when we wake up. Our stomachs are bloated, our clothes aren't fitting, we don't have energy throughout the day, and we're wondering why. Because most of the time when you take a diet approach or you want to have a clean lifestyle, you think you're doing everything right. You're exercising, you're cleaning up your diet, you're eating what you're supposed to be eating, yet we're still not seeing the full effects of all that effort, right? So that is essentially where the Belly Buster comes in. So the company has put together these specific products, and all it is honestly, it's protein. So you're feeding the body protein before you go to bed. That raises the metabolic rate naturally. And as females, we don't get enough protein in our diet, okay? And that's where the hunger and the cravings are all out of whack. We're not satiating our bodies. We're not satiating our appetite. We're not giving it enough of the proper nutrients in order to sustain our lifestyle. So we'll give ourselves that boost of protein right before bed, about 30 to 60 minutes before we go to bed. And we add greens to that, either fruits or greens, but essentially either one that you add to it is phytonutrients. Okay, so a boatload of antioxidants, a boatload of just good quality nutrition to help feed that liver, to help feed the process, to help give the body, I would say, hydration. Okay, so it's more of like a hydration approach to the body. It's giving the body the energy it needs to give yourself that boost of nutrition during your fasting state. Another product that I like to use, and I actually used it before Isagenix approached and added it to the bedtime belly buster, is the sleep spray. Now, we all know with dieting, and when you interrupt your metabolism and you have that interrupted sleep throughout the night, you tend to have more hunger and cravings throughout the day. So science has linked interrupted sleep with unexplained weight gain. Okay, so they've now linked those two together in the past year or so. So when we have that interrupted sleep, even though we're getting that 8 hours of sleep, we're not getting 8 hours of quality deep REM sleep. Okay, so we don't feel refreshed when we wake up. And we're feeling as if, halfway through the day, we need something to kind of re-energize ourselves, right? And that's a clue, is that you're not getting a good restful sleep the night before. So we add the sleep spray. And then the final addition that we add is the fiber powder. Okay, so fiber powder not only helps give yourself that satiating fiber, that gut healing fiber, it also has probiotic in our fiber. So we're also, as much as we're giving the gut fiber, we're also feeding the gut, good probiotic and prebiotic at the same time. So when you add all these products together, you just have like that nice nutritional support going into your nightly fast. So when you wake up in the morning, you're actually setting yourself up for a good day, right? So we have our energy under control. Well, we have good amounts of energy, but we have our hunger and cravings under control. So throughout the day, when you're making your choices, when you're like living your own lifestyle and making your own food choices, you're not making them out of like a white knuckle starvation, deprivation type choice, right? So it's not like I'm craving something, I'm going to go for this, or I'm going to hit a drive through. You can actually plan your meals. You actually feel better. And when you feel better, you tend to eat better. So that's why just adding this at night, you don't really need to pay attention to the other stuff right now, right? You want to get a good foundation, a good restful night's sleep, some good nutrition to start you off. And in the morning, you're going to kind of switch your own lifestyle and routine naturally, right? So the products, again, that we tend to use with these is just protein. Okay, so there's no carbohydrate in it. There's no fat in it. It's just protein. And we add the greens, we add the fiber, and then the sleep spray. So it's four products that you use the night before. You can also use that protein throughout the day if you want to make a smoothie. That protein you can use. It's not something that you just need to stay at night. That's a good foundational protein that you can use. You can add your carbs and fat to it and make a good smoothie for lunch if that's what you want your first meal to be. That's what Camy and I tend to do, is we have our shake as our first meal after our belly buster. And that it's a reboost of that protein, right? It's a reboost of feeding your body to get your hunger and cravings under control. The bedtime belly buster also supports the idea of the 16/8 intermittent fasting. lifestyle.
Before
So
you go into that, Jen, I want to ask some questions.
sure.
Because there's things I think that are probably coming up for some people. So can you go back to HGH, human growth hormone, and talk about why that's important? Because I think your average person may not know what that even is, or if it's only for people who are working out.
Okay, HGH is one of those things that it gets complicated, but the one thing that you need to know is the higher HGH you have, the more efficient your body is to burning fat. The more your body is more equipped to cell regeneration. You know, it's like the youthful hormone. So you hear a lot of athletes taking HGH shots. You know, women when they get older get an HGH and B12 shots. That's all it is. It's around 25. They used to say over 30, but it's now around 25 that we start losing that HGH, that natural HGH boost. And that has a lot to do, it's not necessarily aging, but it has a lot to do with our lifestyle. It has a lot to do with our environment. It has a lot to do with what we're putting in our body. And again, the liver, right? So if the liver is not functioning properly, your hormones aren't balanced properly. So natural processes cannot happen in the body. So we tend to age a lot sooner than if we were in, you know, that ideal kind of nutritional foundation.
Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, aging from internally as well as externally, feeling lethargic, feeling like you can't take off body fat, not sleeping well. So all of these are related to hormonal imbalances. One of which could be HGH.
And if we get to a point too, if we're going down that road, we get to a point where we start seeing wrinkles, or we start seeing droopy skin, or we start seeing like just the youthfulness come out of the glow come out. Our body's been struggling for years. You know, it gets to that point where we stop visually seeing it, and then we want to start making changes, and we want so many quick fixes right away, but we have to realize our body's been struggling for so long. Our body's been trying to fight the fight internally for so long, and it's like you want to start having your body resemble the body on the inside. So it's really starting from the inside and working its way out.
Okay. My next question was about the sleep spray.
Yeah.
So let's say, like, some people I talk to, they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I can't sleep, I need that. Some people are like, oh, I go right to sleep. So what about the people who are like, don't technically have a problem sleeping? Is the sleep spray still valuable for them?
So I can put myself to sleep. So we have done, science has done, isogenic science has done studies on doing it through your Apple Watch or your Fitbit. Okay, so what they say is, because if anybody's heard right now, there's a lot of media against melatonin and the use of melatonin. So this is not a melatonin supplement. There is melatonin in it, but there's also chamomile extract in it. There's a lot of other beneficial things in it. So it's not something to put yourself to sleep. Melatonin should never be used to put yourself to sleep, but used to help you stay in a deep sleep. So once you put yourself to sleep, it's shown to keep you in that REM pattern for a longer period of time. So a lot of people, like, yes, they say, well, I don't have trouble sleeping, but I still wake up groggy and lack of energy and everything else like that. And when they add the sleep spray, I've been using the sleep spray for 2 years. So as a mom of 3, I have a 2-year-old who still does not sleep through the night, wakes up 2 or 3 times a night. I have no problem putting myself to sleep, but that interrupted pattern was leaving me with belly bloat, was leaving me with hunger and craving issues, was leaving me with midday crashes. So adding that, keeping the belly buster going, adding the sleep spray, I was getting quality sleep in the pockets of time that I was sleeping. So when I woke up, I knew, because I'd be a little bit more groggy, like I didn't want to get up. I knew I was getting out of that deep, deep sleep, and it was helping me. As much as I was still getting that interrupted sleep, it was helping me throughout the day and keep that solid nutritional foundation. So, and keeping the energy. And
so it's ensuring the quality of your sleep. It
enhances the quality of your deep sleep.
Okay. And then the next one, you mentioned protein, and you were saying as women, we don't get a lot of protein in, or we don't get enough. And I know people always look at me and they're like, well, I don't work out as much as you do. I need protein. So talk to the person who's not working out hard, or maybe they're not working out at all. They're just walking or doing light activity. Are they still needing that protein?
Yeah, we need to debunk the idea that you only need protein if you're an athlete or if you're working out. Our muscles are primary protein, so we feed off of protein. Our muscles are regenerated and strengthened and healed by protein. Our brain is the same protein. Like we need protein to sustain our life, sustain our metabolism, to feed our cells. So it's one of those essential nutritional components to just everyday life. And by eating well, I'll give you the real science part. You have to have 1 pound of protein minimum. I say a pound to a pound and a half of protein per kilogram, per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 140 pounds, you need 140 grams of protein. You need to like support your body weight in protein in order to keep your metabolism efficient and in order to keep your lean muscle mass efficient. Now, even though you're not working out, you can still feed your lean muscle tissue. You can still maintain and grow and heal your lean muscle tissue without working out. So somebody who's on a weight loss journey and is losing weight and is restricting too many calories, they're going to start feeding off their own muscle tissue. And that's why it's called skinny fat, right? So you get skinny, but you get looser. You don't have any muscle tone. You're sagging. Everything's kind of drooping and wiggling around. It's because you don't have a good solid protein foundation to feed your muscles while you're actually losing your weight and actually tapping into fat versus tapping into muscle tissue. Okay. So you really need that protein to keep your muscle healthy. And I mean, at the end of the day, and to keep it thriving and to keep your metabolism up and burning calories.
Okay. That's the other thing I was going to ask, was just the metabolism piece. Cause I think people hear that all the time, that it boosts your metabolism, but can you touch on how is it boosting your metabolism to have protein versus carbs or fats or another type of macronutrient?
Well, metabolism is just your body's cellular response, right? So it's not necessarily, if you don't feed your body, if you're restricting calories, your metabolism drops. If you feed your body and you're feeding your body, I just said that twice. If you're feeding your body, your metabolism pops up. So it's not a macro thing or anything else like that. You can really feel if your energy is dropping, you're not getting enough nutrients. Mm-hmm. And it's feeding your body the proper nutrients and sustaining. So whether you have carbs, fats, or protein, you need enough protein to support your body weight. So that's how you know if you're getting enough protein. So you can just kind of say, well, if you're getting enough portion size of your palm, like looking at it, or every meal that you're approaching is even easier. Every meal that you eat during the day has to have protein. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to have animal protein, but it has to have some sort of protein. And that will sustain your muscle mass. And then fat is for hormones and carbs is for energy. You know, carbs and fat also do energy, supplies the brain, supports, carbs are in the muscle tissue. The muscle runs on glucose and carbohydrate. The brain runs on carbohydrate. So that's why restricting carbohydrate is never a good idea. And fat is, all your nutrients, right? So absorption of all your vitamins and minerals, supporting the cellular pliability of your cells and your tissues and your organs and all that kind of stuff. So that's why it's really important to have a balance of your macros. What
would you say to somebody that wants to go low carb and they're like, really like, this has worked for me before, I want to go low carb and high protein?
Well, my clients come to me and say, I eliminate carb. I first ask them what carbs did they eliminate. And then I reiterate by saying, okay, well, you really didn't eliminate carbs, because there's carbs in vegetables. Those are the carbs that you want. The carbs that are slow processing in the body, that don't have an insulin spike, are the carbs that are grown. The carbs that will rot on your table if you leave them out for 2 or 3 days. The carbs you don't want to have is man-made carbs. It's the stuff on the inside of the aisles of the the supermarket, right? Anything in a box, anything in a bag, anything in a package. Those are the things that you want to eliminate. And when they tell me that they're low carb and that's their low carb, I'm all for it. But they don't realize that they're getting carbs out of their vegetables, out of their proteins, all that kind of stuff, like their yogurts and everything else. So it's just education, right?
Yeah.
So when someone says, "Oh, I'm low carb," you just say, you reverse that. It's like, well, what are you restricting, or what are you taking out of your diet? And then you teach them basically what we're just talking about,
Okay. The other question I had, I think the belly buster makes sense for somebody who, like, maybe they have nighttime cravings and they're like, yeah, I'm hungry at night. And this could really help me kind of keep myself full at night. What about people who aren't hungry at night? Like I literally talked to somebody who, like, they're actually not really hungry throughout the day. Does that have a meaning? And then would they still want to use the belly buster?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, if you're not hungry, that means that your metabolism is stable, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't have any dips, drags, hunger, cravings, any of that kind of stuff. usually when you get those pings, when you get those hunger pings and craving pings, your system's been out of whack for a couple hours. Now it's kind of giving you that feedback saying, feed me, or, you know, something's off. So if you're satiated and you don't have those pings or cravings, then you're actually in a good position. But the belly buster is to feed you during the fast. So it's not necessarily to satiate you in that moment by saying, well, I'm not hungry, so I don't need to take it in. If you think about it as I'm feeding my body while I'm getting 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep, that's what the belly buster is there to do. It's not necessarily that moment of what you're doing. You're pre-feeding, you're preloading, you're giving it all that nutrition. So while it's sleeping and doing its job, you're actually supporting it and giving it what it needs to fully do its job and really impact the body.
Okay, that makes sense. So those are all the questions that I had. I also have some before and after pics. If we want to share those, I have those, but I kind of interrupted you as you were going to go into another topic. I think you were going to talk about intermittent fasting. So if you want to go into that piece, you can too.
Yeah, so this leads into intermittent fasting and why actually that 8-hour sleep is so important for the body, right? Because it's healing and regenerating. And typically they say breakfast is the most important part of the meal. And when you think about coming off of a fast, it is, right? Feeding it properly, feeding it proper nutrition, a proper foundation is what you need to do. But breakfast is breaking a fast. That's what breakfast means, okay? It's not 8 a.m. between 10. It's not a time frame. It's not between 8 and 10 or 7 and 9 or any of that kind of thing. So the whole idea behind the 16-8 is to fast 16 hours. So it's stopping eating earlier, right? So you're not eating at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. You're stopping at like 6:37, and then you're going 16 hours before you break your fast. And when you break your fast, you want to have that protein foundation, the fat, the carb. You want to have that nice full meal, you know, the full spectrum of macronutrients to help keep the hunger, energy, and cravings at bay, right? You want to always have your energy. But by prolonging your 8-hour sleep into that 16-hour or that 10-hour, you're allowing that body the extra time to do its job. You're not throwing it right into digestion. So you want to kind of extend that window so your HGH still stays high, your liver's cleansing, your body's healing. It's taking everything, if you're doing the belly buster, it's taking everything that you fed it, it's still processing all that. If you're not doing your belly buster and you're just doing the 16-8, it's still processing that nightly meal and it's still healing and regenerating. So you're giving your body enough time to release the extra water, release the fat, release all that stuff and all the toxins and stuff like that. And then you'll find that you get hungry once you start doing it. I know, Camy, you said that you started doing it and has had great results in the past month, but you tend to be in an ideal window with that 16-8. That when you start eating before that, you get more bloated, you get more sluggish, you have those midday crashes, or you know, you feel like you need to take a nap and stuff like that. So it leads into that, and I think that I've been very successful with my female clients in stabilizing hormones with the fasting approach, and coupled with the nutrition, it's been just a win-win for everybody, which is nice. So what's your experience with the intermittent fasting?
So I've done mine. Now for me, it's funny because I actually was not an advocate of it because to me, it felt restrictive. It felt like I wasn't allowed to eat. So there was years that I said, no, I'm not going to do it because breakfast is honestly my favorite meal. Like breakfast, like waffles, pancakes, hash browns, bacon, eggs, all of it. I want all of it right when I wake up. Like I wake up hungry. And so I actually just was studying the research and I was like, you know what? I've been on this system for 3.5 years. I haven't really been doing it the right way. And so I started to look at the science behind intermittent fasting. And I started to say, okay, what could be feasible for me? And all I started to do was just like, you know what? First of all, it's a mindset, right? Like my mindset was I have to have breakfast when I wake up. That was my belief. Just like I'm not a morning person was my belief. So I'm in this habit of like knocking down on my beliefs. So I was like, okay. And then my other belief was that I couldn't work out if I didn't have breakfast. And so I started to just do, and I know that there's research behind fasted cardio. So I started to just get up and do like some gentle fasted cardio. And I'd be like, okay, I can do this. And I started to just push my breakfast back. So like I have a client at 5 a.m. I'm actually not hungry at 5 a.m. So that was easy for me to just have coffee. And then I would like, before you know it, was like 8 a.m. Then before you know it, it was like 9 a.m. And I was able to make it pretty easily till 9 a.m. Sipping, now I was doing it supported. So I was sipping on some of our Cleanse for Life, and I was sipping on some branched chain aminos to support muscles and to kind of give me a little bit of energy. And I was just slowly able to push it back till noon. Now there are days where I'm really hungry at like 10:30, but I'm like, you know what? Mentally, I can make it till noon because I know that it's benefiting my human growth hormone. Like I know the science behind it, and I like waking up with a flat stomach. Like that's pretty awesome when I'm like, dang, you look good, versus before I would wake up with like a pregnant baby stomach every morning. And so I think that's like a positive feedback loop of like, I wake up with a flat stomach. I wake up with good energy. Like I work out. It gets me to do my workout in the morning and not wait till later. Cause then maybe I don't do it. So it gets my workout in. I know it's the most efficient time for me to work out fasted because it's helping me with my HGH. I know that I'm supplying the branched chain aminos. So I'm getting in I'm not metabolizing muscle. And then I've also noticed, which is what you said, I find myself less hungry after like the rest of the day. I'll have my shake. And like when I have my shake, I'm not kidding you not, I'm starving. And when I have it, I like suck it down really quick and then I'm full. And I'm like, all right, well, and then I like don't eat again until like 2:30 or 3. So like, I feel like because the window is shorter and for whatever reason, I think you were mentioning that the fasting helps with blood sugar stabilization too, or like processing sugars. So I think that I'm just like kind of full and I end up not eating as much. And then naturally, like it's 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock my time. I haven't eaten. I don't know. I think I ate like a couple of hours ago, but I'm not even hungry. So it naturally took my cravings down, which I wouldn't think it would. So I was a skeptic. I did it. I dropped 8 pounds in the past month and I can tell it's still working. Like I can tell, I'm like, okay, my arms are continuing to get toned. I'm continuing to take fat off my legs. So I'm creating this as part of my lifestyle. Maybe not every day, but 3 or 4 days out of the week, I'm doing it as long as my schedule can handle it.
Yeah. And that was that you brought up a good point for me to coach on too. There's no strict rule with the 16/8. So if you tend to go more 14 hours, then all you do is just eat for that 8-hour window. And then you start your fast earlier that night. So it's a loop, right? So it's not necessarily like, oh my God, I didn't do my 16 hours and I fudged it up. No, you just, okay, that's when you started. So the next time you stop eating a little bit earlier and then you can go your 16 hours the next night. So it's about consistency, right? And just doing what works for you. Also about the blood sugar, we talked about it earlier, but I didn't hit on it. The blood sugar, as soon as you have an insulin spike, you're out of your fast, right? So if you take in anything that has sugar in it, so that you can have black coffee, you can have lemon and lime juice in the morning, you can have your celery juice in the morning, you can have your cucumber juice in the morning, anything that does not have sugar in it, you can consume during your fasting window and then push it. And the best thing to do coming out of a fast is to have a good foundational protein that's not going to put a lot of load on your digestion. Kind of inch your way into digestion and then have a normal meal, like you're saying, you're not really that hungry. So it's a good foundation to start from where you can choose wisely, right? You can make better choices, so you can plan your meals that fit your lifestyle, always eating for the body that you want. Hold on for 1 second. It has lemon. Okay. I'm getting like notifications for Zoom. So that's, and with isogenics, the intermittent fasting and the belly buster, it all goes hand to hand. It's all a science-based foundation with nutrition and weight loss and metabolism and balancing hormones and, stabilizing your insulin and your sugar. And, that's why it's a winning combination, why it's a great lifestyle and why it's adaptable to anybody. What works for you is not going to work for me. I know we had a conversation earlier and you just realized that I've been doing fasting. Like that is my lifestyle. I've actually incorporated it with isogenics for, over a year now. Because that's just
the way that we do fasting differently and each of it works for us. Cause I combine mine with a cellular cleanse every night and you're true like a hard, true, fast 16-hour window.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's watching and you're like, what are they talking about? You guys can reach out to us individually, and that's what we're here for. We coach you based on your lifestyle to make it work for you, because there's no rules. It's really just figuring out what's going to work for you and using the science and the experience that we have and all of the people that we've helped and all of the people that we know who have had amazing results.
And I know that's a huge question coming from, my clients is, fasted workouts versus unfasted workouts. Mm-hmm. I'm a component of fasted workouts, and you're a component of unfasted workouts.
I never was. I was never, and it was my personal experience. I couldn't perform well fasted. I could have been carbohydrate dependent. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go do a heavy leg day fasted. Yeah. Like, I have to change my workouts. I have to do circuit training and like light cardio. I'm not going to do an Orange Theory workout fasted. I can't personally. Maybe someday I could, but I know plenty of people that can, and I have clients that do.
And that's the thing. It's just what your preference is, how your body reacts to it. I like it. I don't like being in a digestive state when I'm working out. So I tend to use more of like, the products as far as like creatine-based products or BCAAs while I'm working out, and it's a heavy workout in a fasted state. So those things are all obviously also something that you can supplement with if you're in that fasting window. So one thing is there's no hard rules as far as the window, as far as the hours. I know people who do 14 hours of fasted and 10 hours of a window of eating, and still get great results. So the hard and fast rule is between 14 and 16 hours for women, and it's between 10 and 14 hours for men. So
can we I wanted to touch on the quality of the protein, because I feel like we brushed over that. But as a former product educator for a protein company, I know that
you should talk on it.
Okay, so I know that there's varying levels of quality of protein. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody was just like, cool, I'm going to go to Costco and get a bag of protein, is that cool? What would your immediate response be?
See if it works for you. No, I mean, our quality of protein, when I first came into the company, we were tagged as the happy cow. And I was just like, I really didn't pay much attention to the protein as much as the cleanse. The cleanse was really something that was my focus and foundation for my health. And then when I needed to add that supplement to because, in 20 years, I've had every product, just like you, have every product come across my company. 99.9% of the time, my body didn't react well to it. So for the last 10 years, I really stayed away from protein bars and protein powders and all that kind of stuff, and really tried to get my food out of food, and not supplementation. And then I actually researched a little bit more about our happy cows, and the major difference between our cows and traditional cows in the US is just how they're treated. They're
from New Zealand.
Yeah, they're from New Zealand, and they're only milked during their gestational milking period. They're free range, so they get to eat naturally how they're supposed to eat in nature. They're not injected with any sort of hormones or boosting or production hormones. They're not, they don't get sick like our cows get sick. So they're not overly vaccinated and all that kind of stuff. So, and if that doesn't make any sense to anybody, what that means is when the cow is in a stressful state like that, and it is getting vaccinated, is getting pumped with hormones, it is out of its natural rhythm that it's supposed to be in as far as its milking period. Then it's stressed, and it gets into their muscles, it gets into their milk, and it gets into our bodies. Mm-hmm. And as a female, you want to be really aware of this, because when you take a cow's hormones and you mix it with our hormones, that is not a good mix. So a lot of people actually now will be totally against milk, totally against any type of cow products here in the US. I'm one of those moms. My kids don't drink milk or anything else like that. The only way that my kids consume right now is through Isagenix products, because I know exactly how those cows are treated. I know exactly what those cows are eating. I know exactly when those cows are being milked and when everything is being processed. And it's cold processed. So the milk is not heated up when it is separated. It's not separated chemically. It's not heated up. It's not processed. It's literally, from farmer to table. I mean, if you want to kind of get a little bit layman, it's like if the olden days, it's like, when you say if your grandmother doesn't recognize it as food, don't consume it. Yeah. Your grandmother would recognize this. So.
Well, this brings up a good question, because there are still people out there, and I can think of like 5 of them on my hand that, let's say, and you were one of them, right? We should eat whole foods. Whole foods is the best way to go. Let's do Whole30, everyone. So talk about that, on why you, of all people, actually are advocating something in a canister that's technically processed, right? It was made by a man, but talk to us on how that's different than like packaged Rice Krispie treats.
So first, there's a difference between processed and mechanically processed. So if I grew my own garden and I pulled carrots and I shaved them and cut them up, I processed those carrots to be fed to my kids and my family. That's processed. Anytime you put your hands on something and you change its state, it's processed. The difference between naturally processed and chemically processed, or what's another word? When it's like when they add stabilizers and all that, I can't think of the word, but you take it from being food and it's not food anymore. You take the nutrient. What they're doing is taking the nutrients out and they're reintroducing them after they process it, after they strip it down, anything, pump it full of what they want to pump it in, and then they create it, as a meal or as food. Now, I am an advocate of whole foods. This is whole foods, so it's the same thing. It's just. It's made in a processed form. It's convenient, it's efficient, and it's effective, and it's clean. And that's my thing. I could go to Whole Foods and I can take everything in that shake and purchase it, and it'd be a whole hell of a lot more expensive for me to make a smoothie, and I'll waste half of it sitting in the fridge, because this food does not last. If it's real food, it is going to die between 2 and 3 days. It's going to start losing the nutrients as soon as it's picked from the ground. So when we go and purchase our food, it's already lost half its nutrients by the time we get it to our plate. And it depends on how we prepare it, right? We have microwaves, we have grills, like all these things that even kill our nutrients even more. We're putting that into our bodies, and we're thinking we're getting a nutrient dense meal, and we're not. Our food does not look anything like it looked in the 40s and 50s as it does now. And then, you take that process from nature to supermarket to consumer, you're stripping about, I would say 60 to 70% of the quality of nutrients that you really need to get. And that's why we're deficient. That's why we're having all these secondary acute and chronic issues. We're thinking we're getting all our minerals and our nutrients, and we're not. When I started, you're right. I was the one that said, I'm only doing the cleanse, Camy, I'm only doing the cleanse. You know what I mean? I got my food down pat. And I did have to come to you 2 months later and be like, I felt phenomenal. It was the first time in so long that I fed my body. And I could not believe it was coming from a shake, And then you do the research on the shake, and it's food, It's just food that went from the earth right to the canister. And it didn't have to go through that whole traveling system of getting to your plate and you having to prepare it. And nobody, most of my clients that I speak to, they'll admit, the produce that they buy, half of it goes to waste because they don't have the time to prepare it. They don't get to it in time, or they forget about it, where you have it all in and I'm not saying you should only consume shakes. I'm not saying that. There's some days I don't consume shakes. There's some days I consume 2 shakes. There's some days I consume 3. It just really, it's my lifestyle now. And I know once I've felt this good, and I know you can attest to that, it's like when you feel this good and you finally get control of your health and you're finally at a level of performance and a lifestyle, there's no swapping out for that, So then when you go to Whole Foods or you go to restaurants and you eat and you enjoy the food that you love and you eat and you have that nutritional foundation alongside of it, it's a win-win, right? I'm a foodie. I love food. You're a foodie. You love food. There's no you will not find 2 coaches that will say, don't eat that.
Yeah.
It's like, I always say, you got to eat the donut. You know what I mean? It's like, if there's a fresh donut there, you got to eat the donut, So
that's funny. I want to share a story. So I just had a client call this past week, and she was going on vacation, and she's like, well, they're going to have s'mores. She's like, maybe I'll have a half of one. And I was like, no. You do not have a half a s'more. You have the whole s'more. Don't you even say that. And I was like, if you want to balance your blood sugar, I'm like, have a protein shake with it. Just have some Isopro and then have your s'more. And there you go. You have a whole meal. It's all balanced. But I literally was like, you better not. You have that s'more. Because
that's about deprivation. We don't want anybody depriving. We don't want anybody restricting. You want to learn how to consume the foods that you love, your non-negotiables, right? Like your waffles are your non-negotiables. You know, like my teas are my non-negotiables. They're not extreme, but they're still my non-negotiables. Yeah, there's honey in there, and there's actually steamed soy, and I'm not a big soy advocate because of my thyroid, but that's my non-negotiable. That is my thing. But I have my foundation over here to make sure that my body is efficient at being able to process that, you know, and to be able to get through that so I can have the lifestyle that I want to have and the energy I want to have. So
yeah. Well, I wanted to open it up for anybody who's been on the call who has, because we want to keep these at 30 minutes. I said, Jen and I, when we get on a call, need to shut it down. We're going to try to stay one topic each week, but we want to invite you guys, if you have any questions, to kind of open it up for questions now. But also, we're going to have this as a recording so you can share this with anybody that you've been thinking of. That's how Jen and I started. I met her in an online group. She was struggling with her health. And I just said, listen, this has been working for me. And I just shared it with her. And I'm so glad that I did, because number one, we became great friends, like from a distance, from the internet land into real life land, but also just to see how it's helped her and her family and her health. Like, it's been amazing. And so if you have somebody that you want to share it with, you guys can share this. And then we want to invite you to join the Belly Buster. I'm going to share my screen really quick, Jen, because I want to share these progress photos.
Sure.
This is my personal client that I know in real life. You guys can see it, yeah?
I can see it, yeah.
Okay. No, this is not my personal client. Hold on. The one right behind here is my personal client. This one right here. So what I love about her is she's a doctor. So automatically, like, a doctor is going to be more skeptical, right? And she's going to do the research, and she's really going to be like, what is this? This right here is 1 week of her doing the Belly Buster. And I kid you not, like, I don't know if you can see, but you can tell on her back, especially right here, in 7 days, she lost inches. And I forget how many inches she lost, so I can't really tell you exactly what she lost. But it was quite, I think it was like 2.5 inches or something from her belly region and her thighs and her arms. So I just want to show, this is not a quick fix, but this is dang sure motivational to say, like, wow, I have a lot of inflammation in my body. Wow, I could do to lose some inches. And so this is something that gets people, like, excited, because I think a lot of times people without the proper coaching and without the proper system in place, without the proper accountability in place, they tend to get discouraged. And so a lot of people that come to us have dieted forever and ever and ever, and they've failed over and over and over again. And sometimes they just want to see and feel something that works within days. And so, not to say this is going to be the same for everybody, but these were her results after working out really hard for a year, for over probably a year and a half, and eating clean. And she implemented this one thing in 7 days, and this is how her body changed.
I'm going to keep that. Can you keep that up for a second?
Yeah. Let me go back.
This also, you want to think of this as, we don't like to throw up photos like this. Like, you'll go to my group or my page and the Camy's page. This is about your journey, right? This is about what transformation you can have. Okay. So it's not about, what's her name?
I won't share it because I don't know if she wants to.
So say Sally. So yeah. It's not about Sally and what she went through, but I want you to look at this photo and know that this is what happens when you feed your body and not restrict your body. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you put something in your body that supports its natural process.
Yes.
Support your liver. This is what happens. When you feed your liver and give it time to heal and regenerate and strengthen and get all the crap out of your body, the water goes away. The toxicities go away. The fat comes down. Inches are lost. You're not going to get these results in restriction, because as soon as you restrict the body gets smart. And if you're going to restrict nutrients, it's going to hold on to those nutrients. And when it holds on to nutrients or fat or anything else, that's when the water gets held on. Okay. So both Cam and I will tell you, yeah, inches are lost. You can tell on her back that these are fat inches, because if it was just water weight, it'd be in her belly. Mm-hmm. So any of these other areas like legs or stomach or thighs or upper belly, like back fat, if it was water, you wouldn't see the creases disappear. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you know it's actually getting into the fat mass. Yes, you do have a lot of water that's released when you're shedding weight, because weight holds on, toxic fat holds on to water. It has to do that because it's so inflammatory that it needs a pH buffer. And your body is mostly water, so it's going to give it more water if you have high levels of inflammation. So when you start changing that pH chemistry in your body, we don't need that excess water. So I just wanted to add that. That's a great transformation.
Yeah. And you know what, Jen, this is funny that you said that. When she came to me, she was working with a nutrition coach who told her to be on 1,400 calories, and I did her BMR. She needed to be at 1,800 calories. So as soon as she started working with me, she was on higher calories, and this is what happened. Yeah. So it just proves a point that it's not about dieting. It's not about restriction, like we always say. And here's proof of somebody eating more calories with good nutrition and seeing a transformation. Mm-hmm. And part of it too, let's talk about that one piece and then I'll be done. Then I'll be done, I swear. The other reason why it worked is because she was open. Some people are not going to be open. They're not going to be open to changing the way they've been doing it for years. So if somebody wants to be on a hardcore diet and that's the headspace they're in, bless them, but they're not ready yet. Until somebody's ready for health, we can't help them. Until somebody's ready to make a mindset shift of, you know what, I actually can't fail at this. This is not a diet, therefore I can't fail. I can't do anything wrong. Even if I eat a whole cheese pizza, which I've done, yeah, it's still you can't do anything wrong. Like, you just get up again, you do your shake, you do your thing, and you're like, I feel a lot better when I don't eat a whole cheese pizza. I'm not going to do that again. Or next time I'm only going to eat half, right? Like, let's do incremental changes. So that's why Jen and I are here, because we love the mindset piece of it. We're here to support you in that. And so I always ask people in the beginning, are they open to changing their mindset? Not just their health, but their mindset, because this goes hand in hand, and we're here for you the whole time. We're here for you. When you eat that cheese pizza or you have all the ice cream or whatever it is, don't hide, because we've done it and we'll continue to do it. And it's okay, because we have the tools in place that helps us stay on track. Anything else you want?
And the tools work differently for everybody. Yes. It really just supports your body, your chemistry. And that's what's so great about it. So yes, if you want to join the Belly Buster with us, it does start June 7th. So you can either reach out to Camy or I to get more information. Friend us on Facebook. We can give you the information. Both Camy and I will post on our profile page what is needed, or a link to reach out to us as far as ordering the supplements. We are going to start next week, so you want to get those supplements ordered this week so you have them in time to start with the group. You're going to be in a big team of support and accountability. So you're going to be with people that have gone through the Belly Buster a couple of times. You're going to be with people that just are starting the Belly Buster for the first time and have really no idea what to expect. But it's a great community of support and encouragement. Camy and I have our own separate groups that we'll be doing behind the scenes type stuff, workouts that you can do, why it's so beneficial. I go in more into the science and the hormones. Camy goes into the fun part of it all. So it's a great balance, and that bigger community that we will put you into has hundreds of women that are just amazing. You have professionals in there, nurses, doctors, trainers, professional trainers, figure competitors, moms like me, just a whole slew of different people that have gone through this same type of lifestyle approach with all their different stories. So we encourage you to join. I've had 50 women go through this personally, and have had all different outcomes, all successful, all happy. They'll all be joining it again, which is great. So we encourage you, reach out if you haven't.
So this is a great reset for anybody who has been using the products, just to come in, get reinvigorated, maybe learn some new info kind of thing too. Yeah. And then find somebody in your life who keeps complaining and offer them a solution.
Same damn diet with no.
I know. And if they're not open, that's fine. But we're here as a resource. We're gonna be doing these calls bi-weekly. But Jen, I'm gonna throw this out here. Would you want to do one on June 5th, which is 2 days before our Belly Buster, which is next Tuesday, same place and time? Okay.
Yeah, Tuesdays are good.
Okay, so we'll do that, and we'll just make sure we send out an email to anybody who's on the call or watching the recording that, hey, If you want to get more info, we're going to be doing something different on that call, but it's a good place to plug your people in. Or if you're just fired up and you want to keep learning more, hop on that call as well, because we're going to keep sharing these. And then if you guys have questions, reach out to us directly. We'll do a whole 30-minute session on it, on whatever the question is, because I know at least I want to do it on mindset, because that's a big piece of this too. So
yeah, behaviors and patterns are huge, and mindset is the foundation for that. So that's something we should definitely focus on next call.
Okay, well, let's shut it down. We did pretty good. We only went 20 minutes over.
All right, I'm ending the call. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Jen.